Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. It looks like we've got it going. Make sure that the here's done.
Yeah. So, hi. How did you like to jump into this planet Thea debate? If
Well,
it's even a debate anymore.
no, I mean, there's definitely the way I guess we should just go into this is just being like, all right, Ian's super excited. I'm glad.
Apparently, planet Thea came. There were like 20 planets back in 4.5 billion years ago, and Thea was one of them that kind of got synced into Earth's orbit and then rammed into Earth and exploded through it and yanked out a bunch of its innards, and then that became the moon. But as it turns out, NASA did some experiments where they dropped nuclear missiles onto the planet moon, and it reverberated like a hollow bell, and they did it twice. And you go to the link, and it's the unexplained NASA records.
You can probably even find the impact zone with a good telescope if you have a strong enough.
Yeah, I mean, one of the funny things, if you look at now, NASA just admitted that I remember seeing this 10 or 15 years ago in school, and they laughed about it. They're like, hey, it kind of looks like the atmosphere goes beyond the moon. Yeah, well, okay, now NASA
I saw that
posted
recently.
that the atmosphere does extend out to the moon.
So it's lightweight, it's in orbit, magnetically condoned or traveling around, condoned to us, and that's why it's the exact same energy it needs to be to blot out the sun once in a while.
It's the same distance. It's 1/400th the distance to the sun and 1/400th of diameter.
So it's like a magnet that's perfectly balanced to its magnetic charge is being pulled between the sun and the Earth. So what would cause it in spherical magnetics to cause something to always be the distance away? So it's like the light itself that's hitting the Earth is the magnet. Because that's the cone. That's the cone.
You know what magnetism is, and so that's like the funny thing. Because now we're getting into why Isaac Newton was so confused about gravity, or concocting a fusion of ideas that would explain this phenomenon. You've got such an interesting point here. There's this idea of Theia that is hitting the planet. The planet objects that are two spheroids collapse into each other. Outside of that is a hollowed out, inside out, crusted new moon, which then orbits around this object, which is now called New Earth, right? Because it's no longer the old thing, because it's been completely smashed and turned inside out by the penetration of Theia into it. So the parts of it that make up the moon are in it as well. So every part of it is everywhere, but that same coherency.
Yeah. It's interesting that it made the exact thickness that it needed to be to hang at the area that is on the cone of light. If it was like
the light
just
cone
imagine
of the sun.
The triangular, hitting it like a round thing, like a big wheel and a little wheel turbine kind of thing, and so it's at the exact distance that its volume creates a. I wonder if it's related to the shape of the sun. Like if we changed the moon, if it would change the shape of the sun.
Definitely interesting.
Yeah, and vice versa, maybe. Expand the moon. Just got to get it kind of hot, and then you make it bigger if you want to.
Yeah, that's just, there's
a lot of interesting things about the moon. I mean, like, let's talk about the moon, Ben. Like, what do you think about the moon? I mean, remember that book, Who Invented the Moon, or Who Built the Moon?
Yeah, I saw that. There's a lot of relationships in that thing. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, he concluded.
The guy in the 70s, I forget his name.
Yeah. I'll look it up.
He's a Russian scientist, right? So
he's really?
Right.
Oh, man.
The Russian scientist.
I've seen stuff recent. I saw stuff a couple years ago. It said David Holmes. I did see the Russians were studying it, and they had some interesting theories. Like, I had to translate it. But, yeah. Oh, wait, never mind.
I don't know what you're talking about. Show me what you're... Wait,
Who Built the Moon? Christopher... Sorry, it was Wikipedia. Someone made an album called Who Built the Moon. But it looks like the original... Was it Christopher Knight and Alan Butler? I'm trying to find the one. I know what you're talking about. I've seen that.
Are you in the Discord?
Yeah,
I'm
there's a
putting it
rational
into
wiki
the-
thing, and
I posted on Chart and Weaver's Codex. I'm putting info about that NASA experiment.
Yep.
Yeah, Ben, I don't know if are you on the Discord right now?
I'm starting it up.
Fuck yeah.
When I restart my computer, everything I gotta load it.
Oh
Should
yeah.
make that automatic. I have.
Yep. Maybe.
Yeah.
So are you able to see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Ooh.
You can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it works. All right.
All right,
Perfect.
great.
Jitsy's
So
amazing.
Russian scientists in the 70s were talking already
Alien.
about. Well, there's
You
a
think
lot.
something? I mean, this is where. So
This
you
is
think
all-
some?
This is
Okay.
not what I'm
It's
saying.
different
but
from the
what
book,
they
though.
were talking about was more about the idea that the moon itself, as it was obviously kind of perfect for the Earth. There's no other thing like it, really.
I mean,
it's
even
so
the
close,
climate would be
all
different
of
without the
your-
moon.
It's a result of physics. It would be natural
Right,
if you
but the
rammed
thing
two
is-
bodies into each other that the other one would come out the other side and form the
Yeah.
perfect metallic shape.
Absolutely, yeah. But the idea is like, what caused this to happen? And you look into the Sumerian stories of the opposite direction
Tiamat.
orbital, the
Yeah.
orbital, and so at some point something collides, right?
Mhm.
That's the story. There's a cracking of the egg, and everything
Yeah.
changes.
There's Indian tribes that say they go back to before the moon was here, and they have like this rich oral history of it.
Yeah. So the digital Noah's
So-
archive, you know.
So I'm not sure if we're talking like 10,000 years or 100,000 or
Well,
longer.
again, when we're talking about years, it's funny because you're talking about years, which it's like actually a measurement
it's-
of distance,
right.
kind of like the
Really, time's
parsec
not-
that Han Solo does. You know, it's
That's
like
interesting.
how
Well, I
often
mean,
will you go?
4.5 billion years, right?
Well, so okay,
Just-
so let's say you're sitting on the planet Earth, and as it's spinning around, somebody goes the other direction while you're spinning a bunch of times.
Oh, okay. So
And
that's
then
like
they
a
come
momentous
back.
stay.
And then when they get there, 5,000 of your little tiny years later, it seems to them like, you know, you've been immortal, but you've just gone 1 year for you. So you're this giant long life thing compared to this smaller orbitals thing. And it all has to do with this degradation of energy breaking down the matter. That's what
So you
time
think if you break the speed
Sumerian
of
kings
light,
list.
that things will reverse? Matter will reverse.
Well, the amount of degradation of matter has to do with the amount of photons that are bombarding it so that it collapses and breaks, right? So if things are being captured and stored and there's different ways of doing that, light speeds change, obviously. We've seen that in lasers, and we know that we can bend light, and then we know there's different traveling speeds of light, and there's different ways that light travels. There could be things that travel and can coincide at moments that are other moments outside of those moments. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think of it as like if you could travel faster than light, you'd see the light that already happened, basically. So you'd be catching up to the
Yeah.
old light, and it would look like it was going backwards.
Well, there is stuff
So
about
you've been-
Haley. Sorry.
Wait,
Go
or
ahead.
maybe the other way around. So as you move towards an item, you're getting closer to it. So you're seeing it. You're seeing the light. You're going to see it speed up in time. So
It'd be.
But
I
then if
think
you move
you'd actually
away
see a
from it-
mirror.
you'll go. Maybe it would be mirroric.
Well,
But if you go away from it, you'll see it
expands
go
from the Earth.
back.
Yeah.
Like if you go faster, you'll see old light. So you
You'll
go
see
see
old
the old
light
stuff
that's
if you back away
leaving
from it.
where you
Yeah.
came
So if
from.
you travel, you'll perceive it, but that doesn't mean that means that's when it happened. Like you'll perceive the old stuff, but then if you go at the speed of light back to the place, you'll just see it speed up again, and you'll be back at the present. So like there is a persistent
picture.
state. And you can move away from it and towards it, and you'll perceive it in different shapes the further away you get if we're beyond the speed of
Right.
light.
If you could go fast enough, you could go back and see what really happened. To
Yeah,
create the
but
moon.
can you change it? So what if you go faster than light back, and then you send a signal faster than that towards, then you go towards it faster than light. It'll be different when you get there. So you can alter the past.
If the photons are entangled with the matter that they came from, then you could totally alter the past.
I'm checking out this. I was looking at the orbital path of these, and what I get the feeling of it's like this is not so much about traveling back in time, obviously, but this is being able to be something that is existing from an already existing point, so that when something smaller has many of these years or days that they're experiencing cycles, the other thing has a larger cycle. So it's able to come into it and see, and it's perceived as being immortal, but it might not be. It might just be that it's, congruous with another bombarding degradation of energy, breaking down the matter.
Yeah, the sun. It's the sun is yanking it towards the sun and then pushing it back towards the earth.
And which sun? Because there's this idea of the twin sun.
Right.
So if there's this other thing,
maybe our solar system collided with another solar system in the past.
Right. Looking
very
curious.
Did you hear?
Sorry?
Saturn. There's a lot of evidence that Saturn used to be a luminous object that was very much like a sun, a small sun, a brown dwarf. It is still giving off energy. They say it's got a measurable amount of heat that it outputs. It's anomalous.
Jupiter,
it's cooling off.
There's like 5 stars, and the gaseous planets are close to stars.
It could have been that the rings of Saturn might have actually been like remnants of objects, or like if it was a star and it had objects orbiting it, like asteroids, mini.
Doesn't it look like an explosion kind of also? It was like an instantaneous explosion to me in a way.
It's ice out there.
There's water.
Yeah,
that's the other interesting thing. The idea of the firmament being water, right? Like you've seen this is what's weird is that the connection to the actual concept of divided waters from above and below really
makes sense.
That's
so
deep, though.
Stars can explode out liquid metal that hardens into planets.
Yeah. It would mostly be iron, that's what they say, but it should be other elements.
Yeah, because it's filled with tons of metal that it could explode out of it.
Yeah, stardust.
Yeah, it's fusing it, making it.
It's like out of planet once in a while.
Andreas, have you heard of Have you heard this theory? I got it from Michael Tessarian that there was a planet. What really comes from Tom Van Flandern and his research, astronomer guy. There's a planet where the asteroid belt and something blew it up or collided with it. It completely blew up. But they say in the ancient accounts that it was a water planet, and that because of that, you have all these comets, and that the water fell to Earth over thousands of years and caused a huge torrential, like a deluge. And so maybe the firmament is really an old take on that story, that we are essentially flooded from falling ice from space.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely believe in the amount of water, but it's like, I think it's funny because, like, when you get down to history books change a lot. So the only thing you have reference really are the iconography.
Just nature.
Yeah, well, the iconography about it.
Jupiter
doesn't really look like this, you know what I mean?
I think it used to be a binary star system, and one of the stars basically not exploded, but entropied, I don't know, fell apart into 4 gaseous stars, planets, that we know as...
It's very possible.
Saturn through Neptune.
Jupiter, Saturn.
It's just a bunch of gas.
Yeah, right, because they're so anomalous. I mean, it's like, why are gases... I mean, of course, I guess you could say the gravity's stronger, but still, they're all out there. And
why is it the shapes that they're in? Why is it second biggest, third biggest, fourth biggest? Is that how the size to be? Yeah, I think so.
In
what? Is that like
Saturn
a molecule?
Yeah, that's not to scale, but it's good enough. I mean, so Saturn is smaller in mass than Jupiter, but yet Jupiter's not giving off heat that we can tell. So if Saturn was able to ignite in
Saturn's the core, that's probably where it was. Where like where the explosion propulsion occurred, or why would it fall apart? So 2 stars are battling and then one just rips apart. Like they're traveling around each other, pulling on each other, and eventually one maybe it was a lot smaller.
I'm not sure. I mean, what if we could be wrong about the whole fusion thing. It might. I mean, the electric universe theorists. I've looked into it. I don't have time to really study in depth, but if two stars they're massive magnetically charged objects, they're orbiting, and it's going to interact with the magnetic field. So you're going to change characteristics of it. The sun.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
There's
a giant
some
magnetic storm.
resonance. Yeah.
So it could have been a magnetic effect that would cause changes.
Wow. So what would cause it to divide into that shape?
Yeah, I'm
because
not
they're
sure.
using it like a telescope. The sun's using them like to focus to superheat a different area of the universe.
I'm wondering if it could have been a magnetic repulsion. I mean, speculative theory, but if you're right, I mean, if you have a pole flip, so just like the Earth can have a pole flip, a star could have a pole flip because it's magnetic, it's plasma generating it. If you had a pole flip on the inside and you had different layers to a star, it's very possible you could have a star rift and split in half because of the magnets would repulse.
And even more likely, it is some amorphous shape,
theory.
Like what we have with those 4 planets. It's like, bleh, it's like so.
Yeah. You ever see the Aurora Borealis of Saturn?
Yeah.
I mean, pictures? Yeah.
Oh.
It's I think it's 60 times, maybe I'm wrong, but one of the gas giants has a magnetic field 60 times as strong as Earth. It goes all the way out, to us, pretty much. We have a weak magnetic field.
Wow.
Compared.
So, dude, that was the binary star.
Look at that.
I mean, it's called monad.
Well, so looking at this idea, I was looking at what you guys were talking about as the metrics of the. So when the monad
looks like Kabbalah.
Let me go a little bit deeper. So monad was the creation. Hold on, of monad before there were atoms. Essentially, even though I guess it's not really exactly right. There was this idea of monads, which are like this solemn alone thing, which is this pointillism. So if you imagine yourself or the self or the most limited point that is also the connection between all points, it's like whatever you can connect, that tends to be this this concept. And people talk about atoms really like their monads because there's a potential and there's an orbital and they spin around in that point. So what you would do is you would look at it as the universe from out inwards. And you've got your own base of the spine at the base, and then you've got the sun, which is at the top, but it's actually inside and it's pushing outwards. And so all of us being connected through this sort of Kabbalistic major triangle, that makes it all of a sudden so much more sense when we're talking about the gravity of the moon being outside. From Earth's gravity inside.
And we can finally talk about astronomy legit, the planets are pulling, you have a Saturn rising, and
absolutely
astrology.
Yeah, because it used to be weird to talk about astronomy like it might affect the gravity of your life, but it can have the gravity of the situation is that it can really impact your life. Let's just be honest.
And the magnetism of the situation. The magnetics of the situation, apparently.
I've thought that, this is a new direction in terms of understanding, but I always had a theory because there's this guy from Canada. I liked. He has this thing called the God Helmet. He does experiments with telepathy and stuff. I thought that astrology was basically planets' magnetic fields that were affecting you, from when you're in the womb until you're born.
Mach? Who'd you say this? It was Mach? Or who?
He's a guy in Canada.
Let
me see. God Helmet. I used to remember.
Oh, God Helmet. Sorry, I don't know. For some reason, I thought you were talking about
Persinger. Yeah, Dr. Michael Persinger. He studies that. He says that when they do these experiments with the telepathic type of effects, they say whenever there's he actually found it's crazy. There's he has a technology that's you plug in a device, a USB port, or interface, put it on your head. Someone else on the other side of the world does the same thing, and you can communicate telepathically through a computer electronic technology. But he found a guy, he's actually from Iraq, who can literally just take thoughts out of your head, no technology, nothing. Like he has that ability. But the key thing is he said that when they do these experiments, if there's a magnetic storm going on the sun, they can't get good effects. They can't get good results. It's like it blocks
just
out
read
telepathy.
So there's a way of communicating that they unlocked in 2018 in October. These scientists, and I will provide the link shortly. And they were slicing the hippocampi of rats or mice, and seeing that it produced a wavelength of less than 1 hertz, and it was activating other areas of the brain without chemical or neuron activity. It's called, I don't want to call it a federal communication. Here we go. Ephatic, EPHATIC. And it's hindered or enhanced by magnetic fields. So you can dampen its ability with and you can turn it on. You can regenerate it. So I see 5G and shitty gut biomes is like dampening it, and then you can turn it on in people.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I'll place the article and the paper in
emphatic coupling. Cable theory. What's cable theory? Is that related to like neuronal firing?
Check out this. I was just looking into ephaptic coupling, squid giant axons.
Yep. Yeah, that's that guy. He has his lectures on YouTube. I found him because of that, but he has a whole lecture series just on psychotropic drugs, and it's really good. It's the science of psychotropic drugs. It's like really good.
Thanks for clarifying the spelling, Andreas.
Yep.
Ephaptic.
Ephaptic.
Oh, it was the right thing.
T-H-A-P.
Okay, cool.
You got it right. I had it wrong.
I was looking into these.
I mean, who knows how it's pronounced? Emphatic.
Yeah, I don't know. I like
the PT could be P or PT. And this can be in the brain or outside, like just in the field itself. The field itself can activate it.
Well, the answer is in American, yes. Yes, you can. You know, why would you want to have either or? It should be both of it. And that's kind of the metaphysical, beyond the physical idea. It's like, so if the Theta crashed into the Earth to create this, then we're able to be part of all of those things at once. And so we're made of all those things. So the gravity actually the magnetism pulls it all together. It pulls it all together. And so we're basically part of all things.
Yeah.
Because, literally.
You ever saw You ever saw After Earth, Will Smith one?
Mm-hmm.
When his son. I like how in the beginning they said that, we had a paradise planet, and then, they said we ruined it, but I mean, Earth really is a paradise up until the modern era.
So,
I mean, maybe we're not, but
2 stars. This must have been before, before 6 billion years ago. I don't know.
Well, who knows what years are exactly, but cycles. Right.
Yeah.
So, let's say before
the universe was moving quickly,
the speed of light's changing.
We could say before the first Mayan back tune. That's fair.
Oh, what a coincidence. Saturn was formed 4.6 billion years ago. 0.1 billion years before Earth was formed. And the moon was formed. When did the moon form?
Yeah. I don't actually know what their claim of how they calculate the number is.
Wow.
I mean, radiocarbon dating is one thing, dating other isotopes like zirconiums, like that. That's a pretty solid science.
Yeah, Jupiter was formed at the same time Saturn was formed, 4.6 billion.
Mm-hmm. Cycles are there's
definitely a star.
Cycles are very useful because if you can cut across them, they really represent the idea of communication. To get from one transmission to another, it's transceiving. You get a signal and you get a response. And
confirmed all the gas planets were formed 4.6 billion years ago.
So it's like they're foreign objects.
And then 0.1 billion
Not
years,
from
it just
here.
caused massive chaos. And that was probably the spilling out of all the iron, which formed the inner planets.
Yeah.
And there were like 20 planets in our solar system at that point.
Yeah.
And so
That
if a
could have
star
brought the planet.
enervates, how do you call that? Disintegrates? If a star disintegrates, it lets go of matter, all this rockish.
It
and
let
then
go of its outer layer, and it only keep what it can keep in gravitationally.
And then, or magnetically, it's now all of a sudden,
Yeah.
because there's there's like a white hole inside of them or something, like a white charge. There's like a vibration that's causing the speed of, so a vibration that causes explosion of light, which we think of as matter, but that's like, and then that cools that matter sometimes into like hardened into hydrogen, but otherwise it's just light, localized for whatever reason, magnetics, I guess.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I mean,
wow. I mean, that's it. That's the basic formation of the solar system.
You know, Nazim Haramein, you ever saw his stuff? Resonance, they call it the resonance theory or the resonance project or whatever. Yeah. So he has a whole contrarian view to how the sun makes energy, which is kind of like what you said. I mean, he does not think that it's fusion. I mean, not that we're debating, or that it's not only fusion. And then there's a bunch of other stuff. There's this guy with a website. I don't know his name, but his theory is called subquantum kinetics, and it's worth it Googling. It's really interesting. It's another alternative.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Subquantum kinetics, exploring the crack in the first law.
It's
I was just thinking
Ian
about
brought up a good point. Oh, go ahead.
that guy's
quantum
a
law of
physicist.
thermodynamics that we need. Just earlier, I was thinking about, so systems aren't closed. The problem with the first law of thermodynamics, it assumes a closed system. So they're like, the sun is a ball, everything inside it is this. But you're saying it's not a closed system, the universe. So energy's coming from without. And you see the cosmic microwave background radiation.
Could even be coming across time or through time.
It could be vibrating the Higgs field, like through entanglement. And so these stars are entangled maybe in addition to creating fusion, in addition to being electrified by photons or illuminated by photons and heated by photons. And so the crack in the first law, subquantum kinetics, this makes sense because quantum
he has a really good mathematical grounding to his theory. That's kind of why I liked it. And I think, if I remember right, his theory it explores the crack in the conservation of energy you're talking about.
Astrophysicist observations of the cosmological redshift and stellar mass luminosity relation suggest that small violations in energy conservation take place on a regular basis.
Right. It's like the growing Earth hypothesis. That's another thing. I think that his theory provides a grounding for that idea that Earth expands.
Luminosity. In astrophysics, the mass luminosity relationship is an equation giving the relationship between a star's mass and its luminosity.
Yeah, they charted that. I remember now.
So because of its size to luminosity ratio and the cosmological redshift.
Yeah, that's the thing about how supergiants burn out faster than small stars like our sun. So a star that's like 1,000 times bigger than ours will burn out in like 10 million years or something and then explode.
So the longer the emitted photons, the larger the distance, the longer the emitted photons to the system, the longer the emitted photons have traveled through expanding space, the higher the measured cosmological redshift.
Yeah.
So
redshift. There's some guy.
It's like a tennis match in wind resistance, which is causing this differential in kinetics.
Back and forth.
The friction. It's the friction.
Yeah, he's saying it's friction with the quantum vacuum, I think. There was a guy who found huge numbers of anomalies in the redshift thing. I mean, I'll try to find the link on YouTube.
Yeah, because there's all sorts of
he found stuff in the conventional journals where they're finding stars that they're closer, and their redshift is way off
really fast. Yeah, they're not moving at the same speed all the time. Especially if it's magnetic, jolts and can get moved really far, really fast.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that we shouldn't ignore if we're really trying to understand the universe.
Like,
but it's like science
you've seen
made up.
kymatics.
Yeah.
Like our universe could be shaping and shifting like a kymatic sphere.
Yeah. I mean, Richard Hoagland, I think he's with NASA for a while, but Richard Hoagland, he's big into kymatics. He has that whole, they call it torsion field energy. It's just another name for like 0 points. And they find that there's kymatic, like tetrahedron standing waves on every planet. That's where you get the red spot on Jupiter. You get massive storms and features on our planet. He says it's all kymatics that does that. Torsion theory.
It feels like everything is kymatic.
Seems to be there's proof for it. Yeah.
Gravity, interpersonal relationships, the way water spins down the drain, falls, Yeah,
it's all the vortex.
Wow.
Everything's related to a vortex.
And if your hippocampus is at less than 1 hertz, that means it's like a commanding mother. Or one.
So what does that mean to you? What's a commanding mother?
I don't know what frequency. The Earth is like 6 hertz, I think. The Sun is 7 hertz, so it's
7.83
travel
or
farther,
something.
faster than the Sun. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, Schumann.
Earth is 3 hertz. The human hippocampus is less than 1. So it's more of a gamma. What's a gamma wave's frequency?
Super high, really high.
Between 25 and 100. So our brain vibrates at a lower frequency than the Earth and the Sun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, brain waves, they go in a rotation around from one hemisphere and lobe to the other. I don't know if it's clockwise or counterclockwise, but that's how your brain lights up.
And it probably vibrates at a faster frequency than the Earth and the Sun as well. And this Earth and the Sun can probably vibrate lower than the human brain and faster than what we think, but very quickly if they wanted to, or maybe you would have to do something to get it to change.
Yeah, I wonder if the 5G is related to all this.
Yeah, I think it's dampening people's...
Like we know it's disclassified research.
And because it's just a general blare, but you can shake people out of it.
You've seen some of the stuff that came out with Rogan recently, right? Like he had Joe talking about some of the old stuff that we have at the boardwalk here, like the Sensorama and stuff, and everyone acts like that's so crazy. But it's like, I literally could, up until maybe 2012, or something like that, there was, VR stuff from the 50s in the boardwalk. And there was also, I remember the yellow helmet from the 90s thing was like glitchy and broken. It was the last thing to go, and they got rid of all that stuff. Yet Oculus's big project is called Project Santa Cruz. So just expect it soon. But VR is going to make a huge comeback right now. But the thing is, it's a comeback. It's not a new thing. Like, it's existed for a long time.
I always wanted to use those old VR machines.
Like the Sword of Damocles.
Oh, man, I wish.
So check out the Sword of Damocles. So look it up. It's like a it basically looks like the Google Cardboard things that you'd wear, but attached to fiber optic cables into a giant mecha robot that you control called the Sword of Damocles, created by a Desseretian Zion of Utah, Latter-day Saint.
Holy shit. What year was that?
That's pretty insane.
With the mythological
1968.
basis. Yeah.
It's black and white.
That's
1966.
That's when, 1966, 68 is when, like, people were like, let's talk about it.
Next time I'll bring my webcam back from the office so that I can screen share.
But that machine is more than I'm talking about, even, because in the 30s, probably, at least by the point that my dad was a kid, there was, smell-o-rama controls at the boardwalk that you could smell, see, feel, and people would jump out of the helicopter chair as if they felt like it was too real, apparently. So, like, this is back in the 50s. like to 1963 at the latest. It was before, because he was like, yeah. So
I feel like in space, you could have extremely good VR in zero gravity because you could run as fast as you
You
can.
could.
So this is a funny thing about this space. Which part of our reality are you calling space? The inner space
Zero
or the outer
gravity,
space?
less than like perceivable gravity.
We could have zero gravity in your room, musician man. We could, be
Let's do
creating
it.
sound waves that levitate us. Obviously, they
I
do
had a
that
dream
all the
about
time.
that in Joe Rogan's back room.
Also, magnetism.
Sound and magnetism are,
Interesting.
Yeah,
well, you ever see they levitate a frog? So magnetism has 3 or 4 different types of things. One of them is paramagnetism, which is repulsion. It's like it's natural. It's in everything. Bismuth, for example, can levitate things, but you can levitate anything with water, including.
I've never seen them levitate a frog. I want to see that. What is this from?
Just YouTube it.
Okay.
Yeah, they're getting the water
with
to
the
repulse.
magnet?
You've seen
Oh,
it, yeah.
I see
It.
this.
It's been on TV
Well,
and
I can perceive what this is about. I'll just have to check it out more
Yeah,
later.
you ever see bismuth levitating stuff?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's what we were
And then-
trying to show this video about, using bismuth, but that makes a connection with Hans Solomon and the 12 parsecs
Well,
to
really?
get the Kessel Run going, right? Because if you're trying to make a
Interesting.
space for your ship, right,
Mhm.
so you can get yourself in that space to another space, an outer space or an inner space, then you need bismuth.
Bismuth is a super interesting element. I mean, it's one less than polonium, and polonium is one of the most radioactive, deadly, poisonous elements you can have.
Funny how
You
it's
can
right
go
there like a buffer.
Yeah, you could probably even ingest bismuth and not even be harmed. I mean,
Wow.
it's really pretty too. It makes these hypercube type crystals, like an inverted cube. It's the only thing that does that as like a single element.
I've used it in sound effect making because you
It's
smash it, and the sounds are so cool. They use it for sound effects.
I feel like I'm typing buy bismuth into Brave right now, but I feel like maybe if you're using Chrome, they're tracking that and being like, what do people buy X?
Yeah.
Let's record X, get all the, see the and then just be like, oh, wow, look at the trends. And then they're all the next people to buy it all up.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, that they've got eToro, right? So eToro.com or org or whatever is the social network of traders. And it's very big. It allows traders to follow each other's trades and learn how each other trade. And it's just eToro.
eToro. Do you mean like financial traders or any kind, like commodities market?
It's
Metals?
all kinds of trades. It's all kinds. It's
awesome.
metals.
I'll have to
It's
sign up for
oil. It's all kinds of trade. NASDAQ, Bitcoin, Ethereum. You can follow Exertus, and then Exertus can follow you. I follow Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, gold, platinum, the US dollar, the pound, the euro, Tesla, CERN, Microsoft, the Dow, IBM,
Interesting.
Snap, Facebook, Google, Yandex.
You can trade CERN?
You can, I
There's
guess
securities tied to it?
I guess Cerner Corp
Whoa.
is a thing. In 1979, Kansas, Missouri, offering intelligent solutions for healthcare. That's just something different, but I bet you they're connected.
Okay.
I don't know what that really
Surprised.
is. Well, you can find people, copy their trends, and that's what they do is they make virtual bots based on people's trending trades. So they've already, you think you've liked something. Well, they found that that's actually, they invest based on likes. They find people they follow, and they just create an AI that trades based on people that they followed. And that's it's a great way to pass a Turing test. If let's say you have a class of 1,000 kids at Stanford, in a year, and that's not a big class, and you tell them each one of them has to write an AI program by the end of the year. That's not a hard class. It's not even a real, you know what I mean? So a lot of people are working on taking information from Google, from Facebook, from all these things, not just about your choices today, but of all the days of your choices, so they can make a thing that makes change decisions like you do,
Yeah. That's interesting stuff. Yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to take my work for Cinco Lab. Is I really want to start adapting AI for like mutual funds. Like that industry needs AI because right now it's just so inefficient.
Yeah, we should talk a bit about Cinco Labs, man. I think that's something
Do the introduction. Yeah,
that'd be like a good way to
Getting
introduce
the tail
how we
ends.
all know each other and that we're like a thing. So like, how would you know what? Of all people, why not you, Ben? Why don't you talk about Cinco Labs?
Okay. So, Ian, you. There you go.
Like the way it was going to be like a Lord of the Rings. There were rings created by Ben. Could totally tell the story. Like he's like, I laid out the rings for these kids to
As far
find.
as I can remember it. Yeah. So I'll skip the like most of the pre stuff, but so y'all were all working on making a non-profit, a non-governmental organization in Peru to clean up the rainforest, Amazon, give people clean water. You realize there's this massive problem. People don't even have access to clean drinking water. And it's all contaminated, and there's no sewage system in some of these cities, especially that one. So Iquitos, Peru, is out in the middle of the jungle, and there's no roads. And you got to go there by boat or by plane. So y'all tried to do that, and the government didn't want to allow change. The change was too fast, or
the government
lose control.
The government lost control.
Yeah. This is a non-profit.
The government collapsed around us.
Control.
While we were there, the government. It wasn't like they were. The government tried to help as much as they could, and then but at the same time, the whole government collapsed around us, both in Peru and in Brazil, because we were at the border. To understand, these places are closer together as an Amazon than they are as these two states. But we were in a place that all of a sudden the president of Brazil was thrown in jail, and the president
saw that.
Peru was replaced with the new president, and so everything shifted so quickly in Peru.
Yeah. But we can still do it. It's a pretty good idea.
But we're still doing it. Is the thing. We went to Chile so we could get a little safer because Chile is
makes money. That was my main thing. Was I don't know. It did feel safer. It felt like we had internet access. The whole problem.
Remember that we realized that y'all realized that the internet was a big problem too. We couldn't even. Disclaimer.
We were isolated.
I was safe. Yeah, I was safe in an air-conditioned home in the United States, and y'all were in
We had to make
in Iquitos.
We had to leave messages to get through to people. We couldn't have direct conversation.
We couldn't even do audio. So we had to do
a big problem.
Record audio messages and send them back and forth in Messenger because we couldn't do real-time audio. Yeah, so then y'all started talking about doing like an ISP for the people. Also it'd be rolled into the nonprofit. And then if anyone searches on any Latin American media, Xena, like the Randor, and then Iquitos or Peru, you'll find news from that time.
Yeah, projectbalin.org is still up. Projectbalin.org is still up. .com?
Yeah.
.com. Projectbalin.com.
Could be both. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so y'all went to Chile and all got together and said, well, the nonprofit thing doesn't work. It's a little bit.
We were missing the piece of the puzzle. We were missing was the graphene filters.
Yeah, graphene.
And we could have just got big water tanks and collected the rain, but it was we're looking for a sustainable $17 million fix. Could have done it. We still can.
Yeah.
The graphene built a factory in Iquitos. Teach everyone how to use the lasers. Just churn it out.
Didn't the
water filters first, boats second.
Yeah, didn't the government earmark or decide that they wanted to spend $60 million on infrastructure?
Right,
and then something happened.
Out. Yeah,
and y'all were having meetings with government officials or something like that. I remember one I was invited to, but I missed it. And then after that, all hell breaks loose.
I don't know how much of it we're supposed to talk about. The most important part of that is that we got out safely.
We ended up in Chile.
We ended up in Chile, and we created Cinco Labs as a literal world company in a city like Singapore or Sydney, but instead Santiago. And it's good that we did Santiago for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is that it's close. Yeah, that's probably the best reason. It's like one of the most wonderful places in the world, and it's a lot like California, but mirror backwards, because it's like the coast is stretched out. But it's perfect for graphing.
Yeah, because you said you wanted to go straight to Chile. I was like, let's go to Berlin first and chill with the homies.
I'm glad
and it was like isolated. We didn't get any work done, so it cost me a bunch of money. I'd calculated like 6 months. We had 5 off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was interesting that we went
and invested in it.
It was interesting that we went to Peru though, because it was an interesting place, and I learned so much that changed my life. And I'm so grateful to you for that happening. I'm never going to say that was a regret. But
yeah, we should go back.
Yeah, we should go back. You know, we will, now knowing what we know, like the whole other thing that we've found out. But at the time, it was like we were hoping that we could make South America free from, and therefore the rest of the world free from all of this corporate.
Should we go down there with the internet balloon?
Well, so the funny thing about internet balloons, right?
I think we need partners. Lasers. We need business partners.
Yeah,
someone
looking at the lasers
external to partner with.
Looking at the lasers that Google's been putting up, and they send information on lasers back and forth to each other on balloons. Like, there's a way to put a partnership together. That what they did was they transmitted. They transmitted I forget which movie it was, like Roadhouse or something, like across the laser, and that was the first thing. So the point is content. Well, it should be any kind of Glowforge.
Glowforge?
Yeah, we should talk to Glowforge. They're a cool company. Do you know any of them?
We could base it all out of Chile.
I do like them. I mean, they're pretty cool people. We should contact them. They made like a pretty good laser printer that has like a 3D scanner that hits the object so that it measures where it's hitting before the laser burns. It's very cool.
We should write a business plan with just what the balloons would be doing and how the tech would work, and then supply it to them. I'll contact them and then follow up with the business plan.
They could have their brand on the side balloon, like every balloon.
The thing about Glowforge is Glowforge focuses mostly on like consumer products, and I think they are probably former Google employees. So maybe, but we'll see.
We could do that
3D printing drones.
Should we build the business plan and share your screen while we're building it?
Yeah, I mean, can we do on which
2 balloons,
which
laser. Screen? And drones.
Send me a link to.
Lasers would be the cheapest way to transmit internet, because you don't really need a dish. Radar or radio-based communications requires a dish, which is complex.
Perfect. So. And then you can use the lasers for other things too, like heat.
Yeah.
What do you think about CubeSats, Ben?
CubeSats.
In the thermosphere.
Man, so I don't know. I totally think balloons are the way to go for terrestrial internet. I don't think CubeSats would be as economical as balloons. Like, Google must have done that calculation. But they're interesting. Did they say how much it costs to launch a CubeSat? Like $1 million or something like that?
Yeah, it's like $1 million. It's sort of also in a reward-based system. More importantly, it's very invite only.
Yeah, I also wonder. I mean, it's like unofficially. The
more important thing is to get Ben space. The more important thing is to get your name printed into the code of one, so that it says Ben, Ben, Ben every time it spins around. That's literally all you want.
What do you mean? On mines?
On any number of these CubeSats, they will have places. No,
I don't care about that. I think so.
I'll make a slideshow that we can create. Or do you just need one drawing to explain it? I think we should have a full business plan before I contact them. So,
do y'all still have all of the old Facebook groups and stuff? I might have left them, but we have many old archives talking about making an ISP, and we did some explorations of that. I mean, the market is huge. I mean, if you take, we'll have to add it up, but if you take all the countries that most people don't have internet, or their internet's below like 100K speed, it's pretty huge. It's definitely
especially
like 20
for video.
million people.
If we're thinking about video content, that's where I get really interested. Is like these truckers that are trucking other people's material, and it's kind of like
Mhm.
as they're trucking it, they can put a little piece of their own material or somebody else's that's
Yeah.
giving them a piece of crypto for it, like crypto truckers or something. Like I like that idea of a social ad kind of based hosting system, so everyone can then contribute.
Do you mean the video ads thing?
Yeah, I mean,
Orpheus? Yeah. I'm trying to work on being able to store like thousands or millions of videos. I'm trying to work on storage right now, but as soon as I have some prototypes for that done, it's called object storage. I'll totally talk to you about possibly doing that, some designs.
yeah, I mean, like I feel like it doesn't need to be stored in one place. Obviously,
It'd be distributed. Yeah.
yeah.
It would use something like think it's called, is it Datum coin?
Mm-hmm.
Datum's for databases, but it would use the same technology. I'm probably actually going to take their code and adapt it. So I'm using open source object storage called Ceph, and I want to just make it run where people can run a Ceph cluster and mine it and store videos and also ads, so clips.
Okay, we're calling them the laser balloons. I sent you the link, Andreas,
Nice.
in Discord.
Perfect.